guess what? So are you as an advisor. So that as the foundation of what AI can do to make you a better advisor, I think AI note-taking is the foundation. But here's the deal, dude, things are moving. I mean, and I can only speak to Zocks because I don't work for another company, but Zocks is now positioning itself as an AI assistant because it's able to do your onboarding. It's able to do paperwork. It's able to go ahead, pull stuff from 20 different sorts of things, give you intelligence on those documents in your book of business.
AI isn't going to replace financial advisors, but it is going to expose which ones should have never been advisors in the first place. Most advisors are asking, will AI take my job? The better question is, what part of my job am I doing that a machine should be doing? Matt Halloran is uniquely qualified to answer that. He co-founded Proudmouth, built his career around trust and referrals, and now works at Zocks, an AI assistant platform built specifically for financial advisors. Today, we're breaking down how AI assistants are reshaping what it actually means to be a great advisor and where humans still win every time. Matt, thank you so much for joining us today. So I got to ask this right away. So I have questions that I want to ask you here, but it's been a minute because the last time we did a show, it's been over a year. You've had some recent transition where you've gone from being at Proudmouth to Zocks. And so I'd like to open with that so you can let listeners know you to make the transition to Zocks.
So as you know, being a business owner is all encompassing and almost impossible to turn off. And my wife about 3 months ago became paralyzed from the torso down. And I just couldn't be as good of a business partner as my partner needed and as the 26 employees we had at Proudmouth. And so I made a few calls. I wanted to keep it very quiet because I love Proudmouth. I love everything Kirk and I built. And honestly, the wind blew me in the direction of Zocks, dude. So I've been using AI really since GPT 1.0. When it became public, I've been using AI. And I know AI is the future in financial services and really the future that, we all have to start preparing for. And then I met the team and then I saw the product and I was like, okay, my job is Chief Evangelist.
So for listeners, we did a long form blog post recently that's part of my digital Kaizen blog post that I've been doing along with the launch of my new audio book. And there's a second project called Digital Kaizen for Financial Advisors that's going to be coming out in 2026. So this is kind of a continuation on that conversation, but I had to ask you right at the beginning. So I'm going to call you Matt GPT because I saw you change that on LinkedIn, and this is I've been watching Zocks for some time as I've kind of been researching the space and looking at a lot of the new, from the lens of a financial advisor who is trying to, adopt this technology with all the noise that's out there, right? Let's go back to that LinkedIn article, because in that LinkedIn article, you argue that AI assistants are changing what it means to be a financial advisor. What do advisors most misunderstand about that shift?
Well, first off, I think they have to realize that they have to give up some control. So just because you're not actively managing or not managing, which a lot of advisors are terrible managers, their team, right, their operations people, their assistants, when you can actually outsource that to a proven system, then you can stop focusing on the things that you're not good at. This is Kristen, this is the thing that I think everything changes. Right? It's advisors get to go back to doing what they started in this business to do, which is to advise, not to run offices, not to be CEOs, not to be all of that crap. They get to focus on advising again because they can outsource it to programs that are, one, entirely integrated with everything that they're using, and two, it'll stop them from doing the things that they suck at anyway, in order to stay focused on what they should be focused on.
I love that. As somebody who tries to juggle and do everything, there are just certain things that advisors need to kind of hit pause on and realize, hey, there are other tools out there that can do it I say a little bit better, a lot better, it turns out. So let's go a little bit deeper on this. Why do you think advisors are so focused on whether AI will replace them instead of how it can support them?
Well, you and I have been in this business for quite a while. And I remember 10 years ago, right? Robo-advisors were going to shut down the financial services industry and they were going to do everything that you can do and you're screwed. Now that didn't happen because here's the deal. People like people. They want to hang out with people. And this goes across all generations. Yes, our younger generations than you and I, are they more dependent digitally? Absolutely. Are they more comfortable in the digital space? 100%. But the overall idea here is they're not good. And this is the quote that I really hope that you pull from all of this is AI is going to make you a better advisor. That's the key. That's the whole message that I want to say here, because again, it gets you going back to providing good advice, not doing the things that generally you're not great at, which is like managing people or doing paperwork. You know, a lot of those people, Christopher, the one-armed paper hangers, right? I mean, they're the ones doing everything. They're the cook, the dishwasher, bottle washer, waiter, whatever that saying is, right? And so having the opportunity to rely on these, it is not going to replace you at all. It's actually going to allow you to do what I've been talking about since 2006 when I started with the Carson's Consulting Company, which is about the human connection that is needed.
I remember that tested
services.
in the trenches, Carson. I remember that absolutely.
Yeah, dude.
I love it. You know, one of the things you mentioned was the whole robo advisor scare. Well, you know, where are we at now with that? Yes, it became a thing, but from the advisor standpoint, it didn't take over our business. There's a use case for, and it tends to be the lower clients that are like Betterment, that sort of thing. They ended up going in that direction. Wasn't really a threat there from a client perspective, because we've got two listeners here. We've got advisors and we also have got people who are in their, retirees who listen to the show. The question of whether, who's doing the actual advising on the accounts, right? The robo advisor thing was kind of, I would say, much ado about nothing. It's a thing, but almost a big nothing burger there when it comes to that. There, the people who need that level of advice don't typically go with a robo advisor. So I love that. Now, you've talked a bit about this from your perspective. Which parts of advisors' roles are becoming less valuable as AI improves, and which parts are becoming more important?
Yeah. Well, so, I mean, the foundational AI stuff that advisors began to use probably about 2-3 years ago is really these AI note takers, right? They really flooded the market about 18 months ago. And that's, let's just start there, because I was a therapist, and one of the most frustrating things was when I would have to break eye contact with a client and I'd be writing things down. And the problem is cognitively, when I'm writing something down, I'm actually not able to process two things because your brain can't hold two spaces at the same time. So I would miss things that my clients would say. And guess what? So are you as an advisor. So that as the foundation of what AI can do to make you a better advisor, I think AI note-taking is the foundation. But here's the deal. Dude, things are moving. I mean, and I can only speak to Zocks because I don't work for another company, but Zocks is now positioning itself as an AI assistant because it's able to do your onboarding. It's able to do paperwork. It's able to go ahead, pull stuff from 20 different sorts of things, give you intelligence on those documents in your book of business. I mean, it's really phenomenal where AI can take you. So what does that allow you to do? Well, first off, it's going to save you an enormous amount of time. Onboarding for some advisors, I probably coached 1,000 advisors in my time in this industry. That can take up to 2 weeks, right? They can do it in 30 minutes, right? So just think about that. The efficiency there is unbelievable. Then, and this is a big part of the article. And by the way, that article is great. I'm very grateful that you wrote that. The other big thing, it really is that idea of being able to capture the essence of a meeting during the meeting. And I was coaching an advisor a little while ago, because I still do that on the side, because I think it's important for me to keep my fingers on the pulse of what's going on in the industry with all of you guys who are advisors, right? He had hundreds of tasks that were incomplete in his CRM, and half of those were notes. And it had been weeks since he had a meeting with the client, and then he had to enter the notes and put in all the tasks. And as well as I do, you're going to forget stuff, dude. So in real time, when things are being captured and tasks are being created off of the inflection and how AI interprets our vocal inflections and all that stuff, because it's what a large language model can do. Man, I think that just
had a
makes
little
huge difference,
shudder
brother.
when you said task, that giant list of tasks when he went back that he didn't put in the system. That's that task graveyard where you're being efficient. You're gathering all these to-dos, and then what the heck do you do with them? They don't all get done. You talked about, we started with the AI note takers and how, about 18 months or so these rolled out, and they've been game changers in the industry. But I want to highlight what you said about it moving from the note takers to AI assistants. I just did some research this morning about voice first AI and how the idea of voice first AI is not just about the note takers. It's moving from recording to action and doing stuff for you. So that's the whole agents thing. So I love that you talked about that. Zocks is one example of a company that is leading with that head first. You talked about listening. I think of your book, Shut the F Up. And the idea of listening and just being an active listener, and how these note takers are able for us to focus on the things that are important, and it's capturing some of the stuff that we just didn't know that we miss. Pivot a little bit. You've talked about how much time advisors lose to admin and note taking. If AI gives that time back, where should advisors be reinvesting it?
Yeah. Well, and so when I applied at Zocks, one of the things I made a presentation, right? And I said, this is what I want to do for you. And the biggest thing was we call it the now what marketing campaign, which is, okay, so Zocks, just so you know, they've quantified this. It can save you as an advisor up to 10 hours a week, dude. 10 hours a week. That's 40. It's an entire week's worth of work a month that a really good AI assistant can go ahead and provide for you. Now, so what are you going to do? Well, here's the deal. Sky's the limit, dude. Right? So and I think a lot of people, in fact, one of my LinkedIn posts, a gentleman, a PhD who's a behavioral finance professor at a university, I don't know which one, I don't remember, was saying that most advisors just fill that time back up immediately. So they get that 40 hours back a month, and then they just kind of piss it away, for lack of a better description. Well, what are you doing? So why don't you, one, give yourself the gift of maybe taking 3 hours out of your 60-hour work week, right? Or let's talk about, maybe you need to do personal growth and development. Maybe you can start taking care of yourself better. Maybe you can start being a better husband, spouse, partner, wife, son, father, mother, whatever, right? So I think that's what's missing. And I am going to hopefully be remembered for saying this before the robots come over and, take over the world, is I firmly believe that technology can help us be more human, right? And so give yourself the humanness back with this time. Don't fill it with a whole bunch of other menial tasks. Let's say you want to take 6 or 5 of those hours and provide better service to your clients. Maybe you're going to start doing more research on what's going on in the markets. Maybe you're going to start doing more due diligence on new products and services that you can offer to your clients. Or maybe you're going to start throwing educational events for free because you know that people need the financial advice, right? I mean, Christopher, the sky is the limit on what you can do. The problem is we have a homeostasis, right? An equilibrium that we live as human beings. And when things get us out of that equilibrium, we strive to get back to that equilibrium. And I'm challenging everybody in our industry, in fact, anybody in the world who's using AI, to take the time back. Take it back. You do not need to be at your desk 60 hours a week. Guess what? You can do it in 40 or less now and be
love that. I'm going to take you up on
owner.
your challenge, man. I think that is great. Because it is the idea of Zocks quantifying this number of giving back time to advisors here. Now, I hear some of your coaching in there, because whether you're spending it in business growth, business development, or self-development, right? If it's your family role that you do and you want to be a better spouse, husband, parent, father, right? You can put it there. Or if you need to carve off other time but the idea is not to waste it. So I love that. I think that is fantastic. You also talked about technology making us more human, and I agree with that. I think that is, if it's used in the right way, which I think this conversation that we're having is a guardrail for that. This is a good use case of using it where it's good for the clients, it's good for the advisor. Let's keep going here. I wanted to ask you about, you're known as somebody who's been built on referrals and trust. You made that the point that better recall and follow-ups build trust. Why does remembering details matter so much in advisor-client relationships?
You feel heard, dude, right? I mean, that's what most of us are. In fact, in the world, especially digitally, people are just screaming into the void, bro. They're just screaming into the void and just hoping that they get any sort of response, so they get that stimulus back that somebody heard me, whether it's good, bad, indifferent, antagonistic, whatever. I'm not going to dive into that. It's people love to feel heard. So let's talk about that. So you have a wonderful client meeting. You just found out that their grandkids are state swimmers, right? And both of them, they've got twins, and one swims short distance, one swims long distance. And, and they say that the finals are going to be February 72nd. Well, guess what? Your freaking AI hears that and will make a note for you on February 72nd to go ahead and reach out and say how they do. That, to me, is so unbelievably powerful in the world of distraction that we live in right now, especially as a business owner, as an advisor, that even on that date, if the market poops itself, which, God only knows if it ever will, right? You still have that wonderful reminder. And here's the deal. You don't have to act on every one of those, but when you start acting on more and more, that's when your clients realize, oh my God, he or she is my family's advisor. She cares about us. They are paying attention to us. And that's why AI is never going to replace you, because that's that level of humanness that's what your clients crave. And Christopher, that to me is the reason why I firmly believe that this just makes us more human. Now, I have a friend of mine. Her name is Cheryl Hickerson. I'm going to call her out immediately because I love her to death. She ran a company called Females in Finance forever. I've known her for a long, we're old. We've known each other a long time. Her memory is the most amazing memory out of a human being I've ever met in my life. She'll remember your name, your kids, your dog, where you live. I mean, it's unbelievable. Her recall is phenomenal, right? I don't have that. And so my brain works as, I don't see you, I don't think about you, I'm going to move on to something else. But I have systems, that allow me to remember those sorts of things so that I can wish people happy birthdays and I can follow up on different things like that, just because people like,
Matt.
Again,
So
to feel
I'm
heard.
sitting here smiling because in the last show that we did, it's about listening to the guest and letting them talk, right? And I'm not supposed to be thinking about how this relates to me. But as you were telling your story, I was like, ooh, I got one. This totally. So I 100%, just to validate what you were sharing with listeners, the idea of the note takers capturing these human connections. My personal experience, I have a process when I do quarterly reviews with my clients, right? We start with important questions that they have right at the front. Then we do market macro and then micro and all of that, right? But with these note takers, one of the stories I share in the book, right, is before a review meeting, I pull up the last recorded notes. The last time I talked to the client, she had an aunt out in California that she was taking care of that's going through, long-term care issues right now. And I brought that up. Now, my memory is very much like yours. Think absent-minded professor. We got a lot of stuff going on, right? And so the AI was able to bubble that up right to the top. I led with that question. She really needed to talk about that. And that connection was made. I didn't discount the performance. We went back and did the account review. So I'm just piggybacking off of what you shared with me. I think you're 100% correct on that for sure. Let's keep going and dive even deeper here. Some advisors worry AI will make them sound scripted or less authentic. Based on what you're seeing at Zocks, how does AI actually help advisors stay human?
Well, first off, there's always it's always important for you to check. So, AI is amazing and it will help write emails for you in your voice based off of those sorts of things. And that's really what most people are talking about when they're using that example that you just gave. So you really have to go back and you have to take a look, right? It's not that you can set it and forget it. It's that you set it and then you need to check it. And then you need to go ahead and make some corrections to it as all AI gets better. I'm sorry, but you said something there that I want to go back to, because when you're talking about those sorts of the ant example, right? Could you imagine if that also triggered in your whole book of business for your AI to look at your book of business to find other people like that client, and then other people who potentially could be like that client, so you could have the long-term care discussion? Again, I'm not trying to get like all financial servicey and sales here, but listen, it's not about sales. It's about providing the right products and services that are going to help your clients live a better life. That's what you do, Christopher. And I know that's the case, right? So that's the sort of business intelligence that's why it's an AI assistant. It's not just a note taker. But when you're really listening, when you're really focusing on what your clients truly need, I really do think everything in your book of business changes. This line of questioning started with referrals. So I'm going to go to that if you don't mind. Dude, that aunt could very well be a magnificent, I mean, yes, she's in long-term care, but you know what? She's probably got other relatives and she's taking care of her aunt. You're the family's financial advisor. It's so much easier for you to say, hey, Julie, I know that she probably already has an advisor, but if she's in long-term care, the probability of her family also needing long-term care and needing some really strong financial advice, please don't keep me a secret. Now, I'm not going to do who are your 5 closest work associates, who do you sit next to in church, all of that hardcore ask stuff. I am not a big fan of that, but you just opened that door, right? I just popped the hood a little bit on her whole life. And once you start popping the hood on the whole life of your client, you're going to be listened to left and right. Okay, so here's the last one. So you're sitting there and you get that notification. It's February 72nd. We know that it's the, state finals or whatever. You pick up your phone at at lunchtime. There's reason for this. Pick up the phone at lunchtime. You call the client. The client picks up the phone. Is everything okay? Yeah, Julie, everything's okay. I have a note here that says that your kids yesterday or your grandkids were in the state finals. I'm just calling to see how it went. So here's the best part. She's going to pick up the phone because it's you. You're the advisor. And of course she's going to pick up the phone because she's probably going to think something's wrong, right? We get that. But she could be at lunch with other people. She could be at lunch with her kids. She could be at lunch with her grandkids. She could be at lunch with her friends. She could be at lunch with her significant other. Who does? Dude, nobody does that. Oh, wait a second. Who was that? Who was asking about your grandkids? Oh, that's my financial advisor. And they're immediately, what's going to happen? Well, my financial advisor's never done that. So this is that entirely holistic approach. And I think, honestly, what has really been missing in financial advisors' life is an AI assistant. Because there are advisors, my old boss, my old mentor, who goes by Omani had one of the most amazing assistants ever. She could run his entire business when he wasn't there. She remembered everything for everybody. But what happens when she got sick? Because she actually got sick. She was out for like 2 weeks. Ron was lost. Omani was lost. Now, that's not entirely true. He had huge systems in place. But AI didn't get sick.
No, that's good. That's 100%. I was with you all the way. I had an assistant. I run at my highest as a team of 2 with me and my assistant. And last year, my assistant went on, formed her own company, went on to good and better things, right? Which I'm all about growing people. But on the other hand, I was in that seat that you just described. So the idea of AI doesn't get sick. That's a good, good thing for certain things, right? So I love that. I wanted to highlight some of the things you mentioned because you gave us a lot of really good things to share there. Here's one, just call the client. So when I say that, advisors are horrible about picking up the phone and calling the client, right? But what you're talking about is the fact that it's not arbitrary phone call. This is where you've got an AI assistant that's going back and mining for similar situations that we mentioned earlier. It's feeding into your CRM and it's giving you these opportunities. And we said we didn't want it to be salesy, but there is an opportunity here, right? You can be the best financial advisor in the world. And if you want to help people and you don't get in front of them, you're not helping them. So your AI assistant is helping bubble up these opportunities to help people that you just might not have seen, right? I love that. I love that. Let's talk about referrals. Given your background at Proudmouth and your focus on referrals, how do you see AI assistants fitting into trust-based referral relationships?
Well, first off, the intelligence that you can do in your internal book of business, I think is really 80% of it, because you can go in and ask it questions. And so this is one of the big things that Zocks is going to be rolling out this year that I'm really excited about, is teaching advisors how to ask the right questions using their AI. Now, I don't see a lot of other companies even having those discussions because they're just so product feature focused. They're not use focused. And I think that's one of the cool things about Zocks is we're so use focused. I want you using the product, using it well and happy with the product, right? So I think asking the right questions is going to be huge. And again, you can say, and I think a lot of advisors need to be paying attention to this, milestones. So this is a really important one. We know that there are very specific times, days or dates, ages that your clients and clients' kids go through, right? That can signify a great opportunity to ask for a referral. So let's just go ahead and use an arbitrary one because I don't have all of those numbers in front of me. 36 years old. So my kids are 22. So when they turn 36, my advisor should reach out to them. Why? Well, a number of reasons. One, they're starting to earn more money, right? So they probably need to have a stronger financial plan. Number two, they probably have a significant other, if not have already had one, right? They probably have kids if they're having kids. Their insurance needs are going to change, right? Maybe they need to start having a different plan because now they're going to start thinking about retirement because they've been in the workforce for 10, 15 years. These are the sorts of things that and it's so easy to ask. Hey, Christopher, listen, I know this is going to sound weird, but my goal is to really be your whole family's advisor because, I'm trying to grow a business that's going to outlive me. I'm going to have other advisors coming in, and we just want to make sure that the service that you get here is going to continue so that when you do get old and you can't make these decisions, that you know that the person you've trusted, which is me for the last 30 years, is also going to be helping your kids make great decisions. And I just noticed that your kid turned 36. Right? So this is your oldest of three, right? We know that 36 is a kind of a pivotal age where they really need to start having a financial plan. Would you mind could I just reach out to them, or would you mind making that introduction? Because I kind of also want to talk to them about you and about the fact that you're 73 right now and stuff's going to start changing with you. And I'm the guy that they need to call about this stuff. But even that, so that's such a different kind of ask than what most advisors have been hardcore trained to do, which is, who do you know? Who do you know that could use my services? Oh my God. First off, they don't think about they don't care. They're thinking about themselves, right? And secondly, it's sleazy and salesy, right? I personally believe that you should be able to sell your clients every single solitary thing that they could ever need to live a better financial life. And there is a sales component to everything you do as a financial advisor. And don't ever shy away from that because it's important, because you have your client's best interest. But that also extends to their families. And I think that's one of the best possible things to do. And then finally, you have all of the beneficiaries to all of your clients in the CRM, right? That is the best thing that you can possibly do. You can harvest that information from your CRM and you can start taking a look at it. And when you sit down with your clients and you're doing that review and you sit there and say, hey, first off, you need to update beneficiaries, right? Because you do that annually, I'm hoping, right? Do you know who they're working with? Are they actually getting good financial advice? And do you think we should reach out to them? Sometimes they're going to say yes. Sometimes they're going to say no. You don't need all of them.
I love it.
You
Matt, I did it again. I have I have a whole list of stuff I wanted to keep asking you, but we're right here at the end of the show. So, Matt, thank you so much for being on the show. I have a little Matt on my shoulder all the time because I want to ask more. I'm like, all right, I got to ask this, that, and the other, and just shut the F up and let you go, because I know you get, every time we have you on the show, you give us great information. For listeners who'd like to find out more about you, and find out about what you're doing there at Zocks, say it's another advisor who wants to demo, how do they get in contact with you?
Oh, LinkedIn is probably the best way to do it. If you literally type in Matt GPT, I come up. Or you can go to www.zocks.io/MattGPT. And then that will get you to a demo page that they can go ahead and find out more about. But if your audience also wants to learn more about listening, and some of the coaching stuff that I do, following me on LinkedIn.
Absolutely. And I love your book. We didn't even get to talk about the book this time. I love your book. For listeners who are looking for something to read, I would 100% recommend that. Matt, thank you so much for being on the show today.